Do you want to know how I ran 2:18:59 in the marathon? Well, most marathoners are leaving minutes on the table without realizing it. You're working hard, you're getting your long runs in, but there's still big gaps in your training, and it's not quite enough. I ran 2:18:59 for the marathon, and a couple months later, I actually ran 2:19:13 off about 80 miles per week. Yeah, that's right, not 100 miles per week. And that 2:18:59 came right after a stretch of on and off injury and moving into a new house. We had a lot of stress in my life, and it was not a good time to be training for a marathon during that segment. I've been running since 2010. I was a Division II collegiate runner, primarily in the mile. Sometimes I'd run the 5K. I ran under 4 different collegiate coaches, learned a lot from all of them, and I even worked with a post collegiate coach. And now I'm self coached, and I've also coached multiple athletes to 240s or lower. On the channel, Roadrunner Training Projects, my mission is simple. It's to help serious marathon runners break through plateaus, hit results they once thought were impossible through smarter, more intentional training. We're not here for fluff, random workouts. We're here to take the marathon seriously. In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 key concepts and changes that I made to run 2:18:59, and how you can start using these same ideas in your own training if you're aiming for a serious qualifying marathon performance. Whatever it may be, it doesn't have to be 2:18:59. We're going to stay high level here, just enough to get you thinking differently, and then I'll make separate deep dive videos on each topic so you can really apply this to your own training. All right, let's get into it. I don't know, it's cheesy. Okay, so before I get into the changes, I'm just gonna clarify that I actually ran 2:21:07 before I that was my PR before the 2:18:59. And when I ran 2:21:07, I was running about 100 miles per week. So I lowered my mileage and I was able to accomplish a much faster time. So I'm going to kind of go over that's what I'm like referring to when I'm saying changes. So I changed from that 2:21:07 to, and then I ran like I think a 2:23, and then I ran the 2:18:59, and then 2:19:13. So I kind of go over what got me to be able to consistently run now closer to the sub 2:19 area or 2:19 area. So yeah, that's gonna be what the video is gonna be about. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's dive in. Go over change number 1. All right, change number 1. You guessed it, mileage and structure. So stop chasing the mileage blindly, especially the 100 mile per week hype. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that. It drives me crazy. I fell into a little bit too. Mileage absolutely matters for the marathon. If you want to run a serious marathon, whether that's Boston qualifier, World Major qualifier, or chasing something like an Olympics trial standard like myself, you're probably not doing it off of 30 to 40 miles per week. You do need to get a decent mileage, often the ballpark of at least 50 to 60 miles per week, probably more, kind of as you progress, and higher as like if your background can also handle it and life stress can support it, like your lifestyle can support it. Where a lot of runners go wrong is how they think about that mileage. You'll see big channels or social posts talking about, 100, 120, 140 miles per week. Like that's the way to run fast. The reality is I've run much faster than many of these people doing this kind of volume off about 80 miles per week, even myself when I was doing the 100 versus the 80. Because my mileage was structured and over time, and I built around big specific workouts, not just inflated for the sake of the number. So yeah, I mean, it was like the workouts were really intentional, and I was really getting after it in those workouts and saving it for the workouts and not worrying as much about the mileage. So not trying to press unnecessary mileage. The number on Strava does not make you faster. The higher number on Strava for your mileage, weekly mileage, does not make you faster. What matters is how you got there. Did you build up gradually, or did you jump all of a sudden? What's inside those miles? Are there like real workouts, purposeful long runs, or is it just mostly junk? Whether you can repeat that load, can you hold it for weeks and weeks without getting injured or cooked? Here's the part most people ignore. Mileage isn't the only stress in your body's dealing with. There's also life stress that counts. There's also the intensity of the workout. When I ran 2:18:59, I was around 80 miles per week, but I was also moving into a new house, dealing with on and off injuries and the weeks leading up to the race. The move itself was a ton of physical, mental stress. On top of that, I was being coached at the time. Instead of backing off, he ignored the warning signs, and as I kind of showed up, I mentioned them. We basically just kept pushing. Looking back, I'm pretty confident that combination of stress, of like training stress, life stress, all added up into more serious injuries that actually required me to take time off right before my big marathon. So that was a big reason that, I think it really kind of ruined my training a little bit, but maybe it actually helped. I don't know. Maybe I always pushed too hard and then that backing off 4 weeks before helped a little bit. I don't know. So maybe I'm wrong, but that's a trap I don't want you guys in. And I don't want you guys to have to deal with that same issue and pain, kind of like going into a target race, because I had those 2 races to qualify, and the injuries I think really kind of held me back a little bit that year, which is 2023. So yeah, how many miles are you running? And then how many miles and that one intensity on top of that? And like, what's your life stress? So those are all things to really take into consideration. I lived on both sides. I ran 221 off of like roughly 100 miles per week. Later, I ran the 218.59 off about 80 miles per week. In the middle of a move and all the injury noise, that doesn't mean like less is always better. It means that for where I was in my development, smarter structure at 280 with respect to life stress beat the sloppier 100 miles per week. I could have even probably gone lower and gone like 70 per week, and that probably would have been better. So instead of thinking I have to hit 100 miles per week, I want you to think like this. Get into a realistic mileage range for your goal and your life, like life stresses, really take those into consideration. If you're aiming for like a meaningful qualifying time, marathon performance, you're probably going to need to be beyond the casual 30, 40 miles, as I mentioned earlier. Make sure that mileage is earned gradually over time, not grabbed in like one heroic block. Because you saw somebody else like in their log had, the 140 mile per week, like some YouTubers. But be honest about everything else. Kind of stressing you as well. Work, family, moves, lack of sleep. That all kind of stacks up and adds up over time. And inside of that mileage, protect the basic structure. 1 or 2 quality sessions that actually relate to your marathon goal. A long run, sometimes with being also a quality session workout within it. Easy days that are truly easy, so you can absorb the training instead of digging a deeper hole. Easy days are supposed to be sometimes recovery days. So keeping that in mind, not pushing on all of our easy days. So making sure that we actually have easy days. I'm not here to tell you high mileage is bad or low mileage is good. I'm here to tell you this. You do not need to copy someone else's 100 mile per week to run a serious marathon. You need to be at the right mileage, build it up over time. Instead, like a smarter structure that fits your actual life, and you can sustain it. Sustain it. In another video, I'm going to break down how I built my mileage around smarter training, how I like incorporate with workouts. So that's all going to come in a later video to help you guys basically tune into your life stresses and mileage. And so for now, I want you to walk away with this. Mileage matters, but unplanned mileage plus unacknowledged life stress is just overloading your body. Planned mileage adjusted for your real life, and that is the key to mileage. So do not discount life stress. Your body actually reacts to the emotional stress the same way it reacts to physical stress in a lot of ways. So just really keeping that in mind. And so hopefully guys stop doing those 100 miles per week and get down to 80. So just find what works for your body. Let's dive in to change number 2. All right, change number 2 is build your marathon engine on purpose. So the second big pillar is this. You need to build your marathon engine on purpose with simple workouts you actually understand. Don't go be copying everybody else's workouts. A lot of runners just copy workouts from YouTube, Instagram, or what their buddy did last cycle. On paper, it looks hard, it looks impressive, but they have no idea why they're doing it. Why? And how it fits into the bigger picture. If you don't know the purpose of a workout, it's just random stress or I could put it this way. If your coach doesn't know, it's just random stress. Because some people, they don't need to know. The coach just needs to know. When I ran 2:18:59, the magic wasn't some fancy secret session. It was a series of simple, repeatable workouts that clearly build the kind of engine I needed for a fast marathon. For me, that meant longer efforts, longer days. So around 221, I was doing shorter efforts. So I actually lengthened those out to get to the 2:18:59. Things like multiple 3 to 4 mile blocks with a mile float in between, and basically inside. That's basically my long run. That quality turned into big workouts. Nothing crazy on paper, but every piece had a clear job. I guess like 4 mile repeats is pretty crazy on paper, but you know what I mean. Like it didn't look crazy fast. Well, for most people, it might look pretty fast, but okay, I don't know where I'm going with this. But for myself, it did not look crazy fast. The key shifts from the key shift for you is there, instead of asking like, is this workout hard? You need to be asking why is this workout like for me? Like what purpose does it serve? Is it building your ability to hold a strong pace for a long time? Is it sharpening your speed on tired legs? Is it even just training with nutrition sometimes? And is it teaching you how to like feel and stay feel like mentally locked in while you're feeling and being able to swallow while you're at a marathon effort? That's pretty that like and like what goos work for you, what gels work for you. Like there are many different purposes for the workouts, right? So if you can't answer any of those, then the workout probably isn't as helpful as you think. So you don't need a dozen complicated sessions. You need a small toolbox of simple workouts that where the stress will build over time, that you can repeat and see your progress over time. Because it's not how your body adapts. That's also where having a coach or like a real plan helps. Someone has to understand the physiology, the long-term arc, and it took me well over a decade to really learn how all that kind of played out and the type of workouts and how they react long term, right? In this video, I'm just scratching the surface. So I don't want to start. I just want you to start thinking differently. I'll make separate videos breaking down specific marathon workouts, how to progress them, and how to match them to your goals, and how to like adapt them for yourself. For now, remember this: don't just do hard workouts. Do simple workouts with clear purpose that actually build the marathon engine that you need over time. So hope that helps, guys. Let's dive in. Change number 3. All right, change number 3 is feel like it actually matters. Another big piece in how I ran 2:18:59. Well, I kind of mentioned it last bit, was like working out and feeling my body and kind of like working out with nutrition, and like really I was starting to bring more gels on my runs. I used to only bring like one gel for like a long run. But like, in the marathon, you're taking in a lot more calories than that. I was taking in, even the 221, I was taking in, I think I had like 5 gels at least, and then some stuff in my water too. So, but you got to keep it simple, and you got to treat feeling like it actually matters, and it matters based on like individually as well. So I didn't like feel terribly on my 221, and I had good guidance early on. But over the years, that's changed. I've changed my understanding of how much you really need to feel and how intentional you have to be if you want to squeeze everything out of your fitness. Most marathoners I talk to are underfeeling the more feel underfeeling more than they realize. So you might think you're fine because you get through the long runs like I did. But there's a big difference between surviving a long run and actually training your body to perform for 26.2 at your best and not have any stomach issues or anything like that. So when I ran 2:18:59, I wasn't winging it. So like 221, I was kind of winging it a little bit. I still had some of a structure, but then I used like the elite bottles on the course. That was an advantage that we had. It's like some of them just had waters, some of them just had electrolytes, and like some had like the tailwind mix in it for calories and some caffeine. And then even some like gels like caffeine. But you don't want to overdo caffeine as well. So again, I can make a whole video on this. I practiced that in my training, so I knew kind of what my stomach could handle and make sure I could handle all of that. And when I wanted the caffeine to hit, essentially. So, but fueling isn't just what you take during the race. It's also like how much you eat like day to day. When you're in a serious marathon block, your calorie burn skyrockets. Mine definitely does. It's not just unusual to burn. It's not unusual to burn over like 1,000 calories. You're sometimes I think I even burned 2,000 calories. I was eating like 4,000 calories a day at some point, especially when I was in like 100-mile weeks. So like in a single workout, yeah, you can easily burn to 2,000 calories for like a long run workout. It really depends on your current body mass and all those other factors. I'm not a doctor. I'm not gonna go into that. Your watch will often give you like an estimate. If you're not roughly matching that with what you put back in, you're digging a hole. You're not really making those gains anymore. For someone like me who races a marathon around 137 pounds, which is crazy light for a 6'4" person, that daily feeling is huge, huge, huge. Like a more speed strength focused phases, I might be up around 150 to 155. Once I get into like heavy marathon training, more mileage, more long runs, more big workouts, my body weight almost can't even stay high enough. Like I have to like even force myself to eat. It's kind of a miserable experience. Even when like I'm like eating and focusing on like the calories in, I'm still like getting down to 137. So my weight fluctuates like crazy depending on what kind of training I'm doing. So really important that we're just fueling and we're really paying attention to that, right? So, and then like you might want to kind of monitor weight, but you got to be careful too because you lose weight when you sweat too. But that's a whole video on this I could make. The point isn't to like chase specific numbers on the scale. The point is to understand that if you're already like fairly light and you start like layering on the training and like serious marathon training on top of like what you're already kind of burning maybe at work and stuff too, you have to be intentional about eating enough. Otherwise you're going to under recover, your workouts are going to suffer, you're going to be flirting with injury or burnout, like stress fractures and stuff like that can come from under eating. So part of fueling like it actually matters is recognizing that your calories needs go way up when you're in a marathon block. Okay, so using tools like your watch, calorie estimates as a rough guide. If you have to track calories, you can do that as well. Making sure you're replenishing what you burn, especially if you're like already look like me, like a twig. If you don't have access to elite bottles for like the actual race, you still need a plan. Okay. So that means you got to figure out how you're going to carry what actually works for you. So like your gels and whatnot. Because I know the races, they provide stuff, but sometimes that can cause stomach issues if you haven't tried it or you just don't like it in general. Like I don't like goose. So goose, there's too sticky and too hard to eat. So I've used like waist belts and other setups to carry my own stuff, gels, like custom mixes, even things like I don't know, like whatever works for you. Even if it has to be like if you have stomach issues with most of the gels, you could do I don't know some like candy or something. The point isn't that you should just copy exactly what I eat. The point is that you need to test out the products and know what works for you. You need to practice using them on your long runs and like key workouts so you can be used to eating them and like make sure there's no stomach issues when you're going that intense. You need to figure out like how you're going to carry them in the race day and maybe practice with that too. So you're not relying only on whatever random gels are out in the course. Don't need to starve yourself to run a good marathon. I'm going to put it at like that is anorexia. Shoot, something with a sport. I forgot what it's called, but there's an actual term for that. In fact, underfueling will hold you back way more than a couple extra pounds ever will. So you'll see this a lot actually with women marathon runners or women distance runners in general. You'll see them talk about how they've started to eat more and actually they're running better. So just finding that, having meeting, maybe even consulting with a nutritionist might help. For most serious like marathon runners, simple rules are like eat enough to actually recover from what you're asking your body to do, right? So we want to make sure. I kind of use hunger as a really good cue a lot of times. Even I have to eat past hunger sometimes though. Practice your race fueling on long runs and key sessions. Don't introduce anything new on race day. Do not do that. Try to avoid that if you absolutely can. In future videos, I'll break down exactly how I think about daily nutrition, long run fueling, caffeine, and how I set it up, fueling plan for a marathon. For now, I want you to hear this. You can't expect your body to give you a sub 3 hour performance if you're only giving it enough fuel for a half marathon or something. So like half marathons, I'm even fueling a little bit. So cheat fueling is like part of your training. It's not just like this optional extra deal. So it is like as crucial as your workouts, especially for like marathon training. All right, we're gonna dive into change 4 next. All right, change number 4 is pacing and course choice. Another big part of how I ran 2:18:59 wasn't just fitness. I was it was where I chose to race and how I chose to pace. A lot of marathon street courses, course choices, marathon street course choices, like an afterthought. You sign up for whatever local or whatever your friends are doing, and then you're surprised when you blow up on the hills or the heat, the altitude, especially where I'm from and live in Colorado. The hard truth is, if you're chasing a serious marathon, whether that's a Boston qualifier, a world major standard, or something like an OTQ, you can't afford to waste your limited marathons on bad races. Your body needs to recover after a marathon. For example, I train at altitude. Mentally and physically, workouts up here, like up this high, are just harder. Paces are slower. I sometimes need more rest. And even during reps, it feels tougher to breathe and stay relaxed. That's great for building toughness and like a big aerobic engine, but I don't race marathons at altitude. Why? Because a marathon takes a huge toll on your body. You only get so many real shots each year. So after a marathon, I actually need about 3 weeks to even recover. And then it's either light running or off. If I'm going to spend months preparing, then wipe myself out for 2 or 3 weeks after the race, I want the effort to be on a course that gives me a fair shot at my goal. That's why I travel to sea level and fast courses. I spend the extra money to get down there, instead of trying to prove something by racing a 26.2 at altitude. There's no point unless there's maybe some prize money, and then I maybe don't have a shot at winning that anyways. When I ran 2:18:59, I chose a flat OTQ, so Olympic trials qualifying oriented course. It was built for fast times, roughly a 3-mile loops, and there was bottles every lap. No big surprises, and the whole intent of the race was actually to help athletes hit the trial standard. So everybody there was like, looking to hit OTQ or very close. It wasn't about like hype. It was about giving myself like the best environment for my goal. I learned that other side of this at Napa Valley. I ended up running around 2:23, but it easily could have been much worse. The plan going in was to run control for a sub 2:18 effort. Get the early on in the qualifying standards. I think I ran it in 2022. Instead, I let the early downhills and excitement kind of get to my head, and I was hitting something like 5:08 pace, which is, by the way, it was 5:15 was what I was aiming for the first like 4 to 5 miles, and that's like way faster than I should have been running that day. Because of that, I didn't hit the wall at the my standard 20 or 22 like I normally do, but I actually hit it around mile 16. I was like, I still got 10 miles left. Suddenly, like, it just wasn't smooth running. You can actually see it. I'll put up a video quick. This is after mile 16 or right around that time. I was feeling like I was like running uphill, like when it started flattening out, and it just felt like I was running uphill. Even when the course, was kind of like, flattening out, like, so, like, it doesn't really like go uphill, but it really felt like I was going really uphill. And same thing happens, like, I think, like downhill courses too, just I think beat my legs up a little bit more. And similar to like Napa and CIM are very similar. They're very downhill, just enough downhill that it allows me to still OTQ, so it's not like too much. That downhill feels great to start, but then quietly trashes my legs. Course flattens out, and when it kind of maybe tilts just a little bit in the race, and like later in the race, it feels like I was just hitting a wall every single time. So if I would have just been a little more conscious of that going into that, I would have had probably a better experience with all those races. So for some reason, downhill courses I just cannot do. I just always blow up. And maybe I just need to work more on my quads. And actually training on the downhills. Again, make more videos on this too. So I managed to hang on in Napa for 2:23, but it was not a pleasant experience. It was a good reminder of your opening miles can ruin your closing miles and actually ruin maybe half of a race, honestly. Like, closing 10 miles. I would say about 6 miles to go, you should start feeling it in a marathon, but not at mile 16. But yeah, the course profile doesn't care like you what you've done. It's unforgiving, right? So you can't, you can't bake on that time early on. You actually want to maybe just save it. And a lot of times, like, I'll see people pass me in a marathon, and I'm like, yeah, I should have gone out slower. That's what I'm thinking. So that means your early pacing needs to respect both your actual fitness and the course. You need to be hitting the pace. Don't overdo it. Don't go out too fast, especially if it's your first marathon. If you're watching this your first marathon, that was some of the best advice I got going into my first half marathon from like a pro. I used to work in a running store, so I worked with like a pro and like a guy who's very fast too. It's better to feel almost like too controlled in the first 10K and still be running and like still be really like hammering it the last 10K, right? So feeling amazing early and fighting, like you just hold yourself back. Get that hunger later in the race, okay? You can always drop time last half, right? So yeah, just just don't go too slow too. It's a fine balance. So picking a marathon, not with like crazy hills. Even though like Napa and CIM were downhill, they had a lot of rollers, and that could have been beating up my body too. So it's also about knowing your body. Look at courses and see like the history of them. Have they had fast times in the past? Like ask yourself, is this course actually aligned with my goal, or is this just convenient? Go into it with a simple pacing plan. You can actually stick to, not something like that only works if you have like a perfect day and no wind. Unless that's your intent of the race. Sometimes you go out and you have an intent to do that kind of race. But in the future videos, I'll break this down exactly, how I think about it, choose a marathon, how I'd rank different courses, how I'd build pacing plans around specific goals. So that's all going to come in another video. For now, remember this. You work too hard in training to throw minutes away on the wrong course and a reckless early pace. Train where you you can train where you live, but race somewhere that gives you your fitness a real chance to shine, essentially. So for me, training altitude, go race at sea level. Training altitude, train where it's hard, race at sea level. Race where it's cooler. Race when it's cooler. So let's go into change 5. All right, change number 5 is treat the marathon like it's something serious, which kind of is a weird title, but so what I mean by that is make it like kind of like a lifestyle, and it's almost like a part-time job. This kind of ties everything together, and it is like how like you see yourself as a runner. Like are you actually like, are you a runner, right? Is it like your lifestyle? So if you want to run these fast times, it has to become more of a lifestyle. At some point, you have to stop treating the marathon like it's just like a bucket list item and start treating it like it's something serious. To run these qualifying times, it's not just, oh, I ran a marathon, and like it's almost like when you get the medals, it's like, oh yeah, cool medal. But it's like the participation medals. But you got to have a bigger goal in mind. You can't just be collecting those at some point. I mean, it is cool, and they have a lot of cool ones out there, but it's got to be something more. For me, that really shifted when I decided to go after the Olympic trials qualifier. I had been, Division II miler and 5K guy. I'd worked in a running store. I was talking to those marathoners all the time, like the pro guy and the other guy who's really fast as well. I jumped into a couple half marathons and ran about 106 and realized, okay, I might actually be good at this marathon thing. Actually, the funny story is, when I was in college, I said I was never going to run a marathon. And then shortly after college, I ran a marathon. I'm actually pretty good at it because, I thought I was a miler. I thought I was the 800 miler in freshman year of college. From there, I stopped being like, a casual idea and became something like a real project for me. Yeah, I've been chasing that OTQ for too long. The marathon demands a different level of commitment than a mile or even a 5K. In college, your long run might be 16, 20 miles max. That's even on the long end for a miler, honestly. And most days are over pretty fast. When you're training seriously for the marathon, you're doing long runs that are basically, workouts. And sometimes my biggest sessions have stretched closer to 25 miles total for like a workout with a warm up and cool down. Your training days get longer. Your recovery needs to get bigger. It can't just be something you squeeze in around everything else and expect elite level results or even like high level results. If you're serious about running a strong qualifying marathon, whether that's Boston, World Major, or something beyond, you have to make running a real part of your lifestyle. That means you're willing to make some sacrifices. Maybe that's easier mornings, fewer late nights, or restructuring parts of your week. You treat, and then like even like scheduling things. You treat sleep, nutrition, and recovery as part of your training, not an afterthought. You show up on days you don't feel like it because you understand those are the days that separate you from everybody who says they're serious, serious, um, but doesn't act like it. I love something Alex Hormozy talks about with passion. The word passion has roots connected to sacrifice. If running is your passion, there's going to be sacrifice. It's not always going to be rainbows and sunshine. Um, there will be runs in bad weather, days where you're tired, lots of days where you're tired, days you don't even want to go on a run. Those are the days that build the identity of a serious marathoner. Now, that doesn't mean ignoring pain or red flags. Uh, One of the biggest skills you have to develop is knowing the difference between I'm just being soft and my body genuinely needs a chance for rest today. I always ask myself, am I dealing with an actual injury here or is it just fatigue? If I warm up and start the workout, does it get better after a couple of reps or worse? If it gets worse, you probably should stop. um, I've been, I've had days where the first rep or two felt rough, but then things clicked and I ended up having a great session. Actually, just this last week, I was doing repeat 800s and I was supposed to do 10 and I started and I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to do 10. I'm gonna lower this down to 8. So I planned on doing 8. I hit rep 7 and I felt, well, everything changed. Everything got better. And then I'm like, I'm gonna do 10. Go back up to 10. Like, and I still like it didn't feel like I was pressing too much. You got to really just like learn your body and how it feels, and that's one thing that a really good coach can do for you as well. But yeah, I've also had days where it clearly wasn't there, and I modified the workout like I was going to do. Fewer reps, slower paces, or just shut it down completely. When I was coaching athletes, I do the same thing. We stay in communication. We adjust based on how they're feeling. But the baseline expectation is that running is a priority, not an optional extra. You should have to almost like it should be like, okay, I've got to like hold myself back. A lot of times, like that is like what it's like for me. I'm always like, okay, I'm probably gonna get injured. Like I gotta just stop. Like I gotta slow down a little bit. And then like there's typically two different type of athletes. There's the type of athlete sometimes that you gotta push more, and there's a type of athlete. So like as a coach, and speaking more as a coach, the type of athlete I gotta ring in. Like I'm like, you're gonna get injured. You gotta pull back. I'm that pullback athlete. And knowing which one you are, there's no shame in being the one that has to be pushed more. Um, there's different advantages and disadvantages to both. But you just got to know which one you are and know how do you push yourself if you're the athlete who needs to be pushed more? How do you maybe it's a mindset change. Maybe you got to change your mind. Again, we can make whole videos on this. If you're a busy runner with a job, family, a lot going on, this doesn't mean you have to live like a full-time pro. It means you're honest about what it actually takes. Maybe that's 6 days a week instead of 4, or rearranging your schedule to protect one workout and one long run. Like maybe it means waking up early in the morning and going for that 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. run to avoid the heat, Maybe it's like, yeah, so like, I mean, it's in Colorado too. I mean, the summers they get hot around here and avoiding the heat, but like, especially in those like, Florida and in those southern humid states, you got to go out in the mornings. Like when heat can affect your run dramatically. It can replicate altitude training, but it's got to be planned. And again, I could talk forever about that, and I will make a video on it. Don't worry. So you can even go and hop on a treadmill instead of skipping the day, if you had to. Make sure you have access to a treadmill and AC and all that if you're in those hotter locations, or if it's cold and it's hard to get outside and run. There's too much snow. Have a treadmill. Have a treadmill ready. I need to get a treadmill myself, but I just end up going out in the snow anyways. At the end of the day, nothing worth chasing comes without work. Okay. So if your running is your passion, it will cost you something: time, comfort, convenience. But that's also what makes it meaningful. On the hard days, I like to remind myself, most people aren't out here right now. They're not running in this weather. They're not stacking these weeks over time. That's where you separate yourself from everybody else. In a future video, I'll go deeper on what it really looks like to take the marathon seriously. In your day-to-day life, how you balance family, work. I have a family. I have a 10-month-old daughter, and a serious build without burning out. For now, I want you to remember this. You don't just train for a faster marathon. You become the kind of person who can run your goal, wherever that may be. Boston qualifier, OTQ, breaking 3 hours in the marathon, even other goals, even just hitting a certain time. Maybe you want to go 3:15. All those goals. All right, so let's wrap this up. So those are the 5 big pillars behind my 2:18:59 marathon and what I changed from my 2:21. Getting the right mileage inside a smart structure, building your marathon engine on purpose, feeling like it actually matters, fueling, not wasting marathons on the wrong course or reckless pacing, and treating the marathon like something serious in your day-to-day life. My mission with Roadrunner Training Projects, again, is to help serious marathon runners like you train smarter, run faster, and race better. To give you the structure and systems I wish I had earlier, so you're not wasting years guessing. In future videos, I'm going to go much deeper into each of these areas. How to build a smart marathon weeks without chasing like random mileage, like marathon training weeks and numbers. The exact types of workouts I use to build a marathon engine. How I talk about daily nutrition, race day fueling. How I choose the right marathon course and pace it well. And what it really looks like to take the marathon seriously when you also have a job, family, life. We are busy people. We have to make things work if you want to be serious in the marathon. If you're serious about the marathon and you want more videos like this, no fluff, just real training insights, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss those deep dives and those future videos that I will be making. And if this helped you think differently about your own training, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you've learned from this video, what you want to maybe see next, what your next marathon goal is. And then hit that like button if you really enjoyed the video. If you did not like it, I guess you can hit the dislike button too. But yeah, those are my 5 areas. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was a long one, so hopefully it wasn't too long. And let me know. I'll catch you guys in next videos.